Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another special episode of Herschel Talkers as we're heading into week 2 of the college football season. Please follow us, subscribe, and give us likes and comments on our YouTube page, Herschel Talkers. Facebook, we post. Twitter, or at Herschel Talkers. Dawg, we post the episode each week. And 247. We got our buddy, old returning guest, Justin, as he's giving betting odds and predictions for week 2 of college football. Also, Sean and I will do a review of the Vandy game. The Dogs won 30-6, and preview Murray State. And welcome to the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a return guest to the show.
Children of all ages.
There it is.
WWE proudly presents the Tag Team Champions of the World.
We got a good. There you go. Sean's coming in hot. We got our good buddy Justin, return great guest from the show. He was on about 2 years ago. How are we doing today, Justin?
Hey, pretty good. Thanks for having me on to what seems like amateur hour here.
It is. It's great. Yeah. All right, so we'll jump right into it. After week 1, the SEC took a big black eye, losing actually 9 out of 14.
Which is still better than the big blacks anything else, right?
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way. So first off, big news of the day early this morning. I know Justin's a big Dallas Cowboys fan. Justin, what's your thoughts on Zeke Elliott getting the big 6-year, $90 million, 50 guaranteed? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he got the big contract, so now it's time for big expectations. As a Cowboys fan, we're expecting a lot. Of course, already the Super Bowl champs are going on, but I'm thinking we win about 9 or 10 games, something like that. Maybe lose first round of playoffs, kind of similar to last year.
All right, as expected.
The good thing is we don't have to worry about Zeke and contractual performances and obligations and sitting out and stuff like that.
Hopefully, he'll just stay out the principal's office getting in trouble, right?
Exactly.
Well, one more on that. What's your thoughts on when do you think they'll sign Zach? I know you're not the biggest Zach fan. He's sick. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about tanking for Trevor. So.
Oh wow, I like that. Hashtag tanking for Trevor. 2 more years. Well, getting a little less than 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You might have re-signed him by then, right?
Well, never know.
Well, they said Dak's the next one that needs to get a contract extension, right?
Yeah, but they're talking about top 5 money for the position, and he's a bottom 5 performer. So I don't know.
Yeah, I was hearing something today about maybe 112. Like Jared Goff just got paid 110. Someone getting 112.
Yeah, I thought Goff was in the 160s.
That's
Maybe I was wrong. I heard something like 108, 110. I don't know. But I know he just got re-signed. Was it 4-year, though? Maybe that was it. Anyway, I could be wrong. But Jared Goff just got a big contract. He did go Super Bowl last year. He only got 3 points, but, still successful.
well, I guess it depends on how you define success. But, yeah, I mean, he did get to the Super Bowl.
All right, so here's the big overall question. Tennessee loss was just embarrassing. You had South Carolina losing to North Carolina. I actually heard about the Jake Bentley injury. I thought it might have happened during the game. So the rumor has it, it's just a rumor that he actually was pissed after the game and kicked the locker or something and broke his foot. That's how it happened, which is pretty funny.
Wow.
So that's what I heard. Because I was thinking he made it through the whole game, and I was like, well, it came out Monday that he broke his foot. So did it happen in practice? So that's what I heard, which is pretty funny. Ole Miss getting beat by Memphis. Missouri getting beat by Wyoming. Even though everybody's saying, why would you go out to Laramie, Wyoming? I think that's where it was. So my question is, you guys, is SEC not the strongest conference anymore? And from top to bottom, I always try to look at it top to bottom, not just the top-heavy teams. So maybe they're not as good as they used to be. Sean and I were talking about that this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very top-heavy conference, and it's kind of telling by what's going on with the LSU-Texas spread. I think it started at like -3. Now it's already at -6.5.
Right.
You got Bama favorite to win or co-favorite to win the national championship, and then Georgia favorites to get into the playoffs. So I think it's a very top-heavy, the best top-heavy conference in the league. I don't know if it's overall the greatest conference.
Yeah, I mean,
as it has been in previous years.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I mean, really, all you got to do is look at the SEC East, and to me, it's funny, right? Because a lot of SEC fans are very quick to point out and to bitch about Clemson, right? No, Clemson's pretty much got a cakewalk to the playoffs, but to be honest, so does Georgia, because there's really nobody in the East, right? I mean, it's a cakewalk to Atlanta.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I feel like if they got a pulse, they should be able to win. Unless, God forbid, Jake Fromm or we start losing a whole bunch of starters.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, the West is a little bit better because, again, like, Justin said, you got LSU, which, I mean, hey, anybody can have a bad day. They can certainly beat Bama. You got Texas A&M. I guess we'll find out a little bit more about them this Saturday. So, I mean, there's at least other competitive teams, in that division. But, dude, like, when you got Tennessee just getting, basically paying a team that's been in existence for 10 years, $1 million to come in and run you in your own house, like, that pretty much says all you need to know about that division.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the loss. Thank you for the paycheck. So going through, I looked up this. So the best Power 5 conferences after week 1 was SEC was 9-5, Big 10 was 12-2. Sorry, Big 12. I guess Pac-12 was 10-4. ACC coming in last at 7-7, and then the Big 12 was 10-0. I guess just because they played on different days. But I mean, look at that. I may be thinking like top to bottom though. The Big 10. The Michigans, Ohio State, Wisconsins, some of those might actually be the best overall conference. What do you think? Top to bottom, so it's not top heavy. Just throwing that out there. I know it's week 1. There's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And do you happen to know what the SEC went last year in bowl games?
It wasn't that good either. There were not a top one. But even though, so would you say the best overall team? So would it be like, is Clemson a strong conference because you got like Clemson and then everybody else was like 7-5, but you win the national title, or is it one where you have, 1-2 1-2, kind of like it was with Georgia and Alabama 2 years ago in the playoffs? Do you base it off that or top to bottom on the whole best conference debate?
Yeah, thinking top to bottom.
Yeah, and honestly, like I really don't second guess like the committee or the computers anymore. And I mean, me and Trey had talked about this off podcast before. When you look at like the 2017 playoffs, right? Alabama doesn't win the conference, and they got in kind of controversially at the time over like Ohio State and other conference winners, and they ultimately proved the committee right by winning the national title. So
yeah, that's a good point.
So to me, I think they'll get that stuff right. I mean, and it'll all kind of work itself out. I mean, I think as long as you kind of handle business, they're not going to forget about you. I mean, it's different if you're like Central Florida or whatever, but I mean, who have you beaten, right?
Yeah.
Southeastern Conference was actually looking it up 6-6 in bowl games last year. Big 12 was 4-3. Big 10 was 5-4.
Yeah,
about ACC was actually 6-5. So I know they didn't play as many games, but yeah. So that shows you middle of the pack,
Yeah, really.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Jumping right in, we'll go over some of the games here. So the big 2 of the week, we'll go over some more. So we got Texas A&M. The line, this is for ESPN, 17.5 again at Clemson, Death Valley at 3:30.
Yeah. So
thoughts on that?
That line is up to 18.5 right now, and whenever that first came out, I was just thinking, Vegas is just screaming for people to take Texas A&M. To me, I was thinking that this game was going to be slightly under 14, but 18 and a half now, there's just something's telling me to kind of stay away from this game. But I guess if I was to bet anything, I guess I'd bet Clemson.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think A&M looked that good. I think they're going to go into a hostile environment, which A&M, they're going to be kind of used to that. But I just can't see Mal performing like an all-star under all these conditions.
Well, right. And the thing is to me, I think the later the game, the up to, I guess, maybe like at 7 o'clock start time, I think the tougher it becomes because, you know, you're going to have more people that are going to be louder, drinking, crowd's going to be more intense. And just the thing is, you know, we haven't really seen much after week one,
It is a
right?
3:30 game, though, so it could be better for him.
Yeah, I was going to say it's 3:30.
Yeah,
Oh, is it? I thought it was 7. So maybe
7:30 game's the Texas LSU game. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess even still, though, right? I mean, we just don't know enough after, you know, week one. But I think the thing is Clemson's still got Trevor Lawrence. They've still got those receivers, Travis Etienne. I think they've just got more athletes at this point.
I will say this: Trevor Lawrence. I texted. He didn't look human. He looked a little human with his 2 picks. I know it was against Georgia Tech, garbage, and they first off blew him out, so it was never in doubt. But you know, threw a couple like, why would you throw those balls? Being Trevor Lawrence, maybe it was a lot of pressure. But the ETN guy was running all over him, and Georgia Tech looked like like worst we've seen him in a while. But I'm just saying that Texas A&M looked pretty good. I just like that was the closest game on record last year was the Texas. I know Clemson had to go on the road. And you got Munn back. You know, Jimbo Fisher's a good coach. I mean, I think they'll hang around with them, like Justin said. But
yeah, but
I don't see it being like a blowout. But anyway.
Yeah, but were you a little confused at the line?
I was. It shifted around.
For sure. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, Justin, I kind of felt like it was – I was surprised it was that much, to be completely honest. I was thinking maybe like 10. And I'm like, man, 18? Like,
yeah.
That just kind of seems a bit like – that just seems like a bit crazy. Especially – I mean, it might be one thing, right, if you'd had like an injury for Texas A&M or some suspensions or whatever, but you just don't have that. And they played so close last year.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, it seems like Clemson's lost more off of last year's roster than, you know, they've necessarily gained for kind of spread to be justified, but, you know.
Yeah, usually whenever I'm this confused about a line, I stay away. That'll be the case this week.
So if you had to pick a score, what would it be?
I mean, if I had to pick, I'd say Clemson covers.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say Clemson just maybe comes underneath that. I think maybe 14-17.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 38-24 Clemson. I think Texas A&M hangs around in the first half a little bit and they make adjustments, and that crowd gets behind them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we all agree on that one, but that would be a shocker though. Texas. And here's the other question I asked: do you think this is the toughest game for Clemson on their schedule? Because the rest of the ACC's garbage. What do you think? Toughest game this year?
Well, I mean, the thing is Clemson, and they've already kind of laid out the projected lines. They're favored by 2 touchdowns every single game.
Yeah, I agree.
2 or more, and it's not like they have a ridiculously easy schedule. Now, at the same time, they still got to show up all season and, you know, hopefully avoid any injuries. But, I mean, they absolutely have, you know, if you look at the top 5, even top 10 teams, they have the path of least resistance to the playoffs, 100%. After this game.
You could also look at it this way: less wear and tear on your team, even though some people say you're not battle tested. And one of the other I was listening to Sirius XM late, I think it was Saturday night. And he was like, hey, are you bored as a Clemson fan? First off, coming off a national title, you blow out, you know, Bama. And your schedule is so easy. So basically, you're not even worried about anything. Your season doesn't start till December or early January. So, I mean, are you like bored just kind of going through the motions as a Clemson fan?
Well, yeah, but there's also some merit. I mean, you saw Clemson last year in the playoffs. I mean, they looked healthy, they looked sharp, they looked focused, they looked ready to go more than any other team.
Yeah, I agree.
By a mile, too.
There's a little bit of merit. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if boredom's the right word. I mean, the thing is maybe you're not, like, sweating bullets like you would be if this was, like, an SEC, like a 2006 Florida or something like that, where you have Tebow as a freshman and, you're kind of eking out wins. But, the other thing, too, is Clemson always has a couple of crazy games like every year where it's maybe closer than it should be. I think the Syracuse game was kind of that way.
That's when Trevor went down too. He had a shoulder injury. Yeah, scared him.
Yeah, and then before that, what was it, like Pitt or something like that? So
Texas A&M only lost by 3 to him. There was a fumble in the end zone, and actually Kelly Bryant saved him that game. Trevor, he was young, kind of struggled a little bit, and they put Kelly Bryant in.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I just remember that one. All right, moving on to the next win. So it's Texas, I guess LSU. It's in that's Arlington, right, Justin? Is that
yeah,
Palace in Dallas? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like Justin mentioned earlier. It's moved, so it's LSU -6. What's your thoughts on that?
It's actually 6.5. I mean, if it gets to 7, I might have to. If it gets to 7, I might have to throw down a little. But I think if you look at just the skill positions, I think LSU is going to show everybody that they're just a little better at them. I do like both quarterbacks. And the thing is I was thinking, if Texas pulls out a win, are we going to start talking, like, does this win put them on the map? Are we going to start talking how they beat Georgia? Are we going to start talking how they beat the number 6 team LSU? Are we going to start talking about them, maybe even as a playoff contender?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I'd actually thought about it some earlier as well. I think that, I think this game helped some. I think what really kind of solidifies that talk and that conversation is going to be, the Red River Shootout. I think if they go and they handle business against Oklahoma, then for sure, they're kind of that team that's, I think for sure getting the playoff spot.
Well, and then also basically with the same team, they beat Georgia.
Correct.
Yeah, you got Tom Herman and Sam Ehlinger talking some trash. Yeah, pumping their chest out. We're the SEC killer. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Justin, do you think LSU is going to win?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to kind of stay away from it from a betting perspective, but yeah, I think LSU wins. I might even put a little, mix LSU money line with another parlay.
Yeah, I think at this point, I think LSU wins as well. And my reasoning for it is I think that, the one problem, the one weakness with Tom Herman's teams, I think, has always been defense. And I think that when we've looked at, even college football today with some of the, I guess, restrictions on defense, it still seems like the better defensive team wins. And the Cajun Cookie Monster and those LSU Tigers definitely can play some defense. That's why I think that's where the edge goes,
Yeah.
Also, LSU finally has a good returning starter that can throw the ball, John Burrow, and they've transitioned to the spread offense, even though they put up 55 against Georgia Southern, my alumni, terrible. But anyway, they said they look. I mean, he threw 5 or 6 touchdowns.
Call that the spread off. I don't even know why they call that a spread offense. It looks like that motion offense they had 2 years ago.
Well, maybe they just got him back. They just said he looked really comfortable and it looked a lot different. Because, as years passed, LSU would basically just try to line it up like Alabama style and run it at you and play defense. So they're trying to, switch it up. And I think they still got some pretty good athletes on defense. So,
yeah.
Well, how about if you actually did coach versus coach? You like Herman over Algeron? I always we call him Waterboy. Think he's a better coach?
I think he's a better offensive coach in my mind. I think, Orgeron seems like he's good enough with the quarterback he's got right now to win this thing, honestly. Now, I mean, if you're talking about over the life of their careers, no, I would take Herman, any given year in and out just because he can develop it. But for right now, Orgeron's got a quarterback and he's got a decent, so I think it goes to LSU.
All right. think we all agree. Yeah, I'd lean towards LSU. Plus, I'm pulling for him just because of, say, if Texas A&M gets blasted and LSU gets beat, it's making SEC look really bad this year.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I had another one just because it was funny. So BYU travels to Rocky Flop. You know who that is? Tennessee. Tennessee minus 3.5. Coming off terrible loss against Georgia State. I mean, are they gonna lay down? Are they gonna get up and fight? What do you think? It's a night game too. It's Knoxville's kind of tough at night, but 7 p.m. BYU at Tennessee.
Yeah, this might have trap written all over it.
I actually like Tennessee. I like Tennessee in this one for some reason.
I mean, I think if they give you -3 at home, that's pretty much that's just the benefit for being on the home field, right? More or less, isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this is going to be BYU. I mean, the problem for Tennessee is going to be Guantanamo Bay, the quarterback. I mean, he was just disastrous last week. I mean, no pocket. I don't know. I just think Tennessee is just, a shell of itself.
Hey, you got Jim Chaney too. Coach a great game.
True.
I'm gonna go with Tennessee, but it's just interesting that they're actually our favorite coming off that terrible loss. It is at home though.
But it's -3 though, which tells me that Vegas doesn't really know.
I guess BYU, man, it's a Mormon school.
Well, but it's still so early. I mean, how many college teams are there? 120 or something like that. I mean, nobody really knows.
Yeah.
At this point in the season where things are going.
Right. All right, so everybody's taking Tennessee, or am I the only one that takes them?
I'm actually with
I think
you,
you're
Trey.
Okay. How about you? He can go BYU, Sean?
Yeah, give me my glass of milk.
There you go. Nice. All right, next one is Arkansas at Old Piss, as we like to call them. Old Piss, 10 points last week against Memphis. Terrible. -6.5. Is that a trap game? Arkansas did win, 1-0. Ole Miss looked terrible. I watched them that game.
So is that Ole Miss?
Rich Rodriguez, the big OC, getting 10 points.
Yeah, you would know more about this one than me.
Yeah.
I'm going with Arkansas.
I like Arkansas.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at these because they're SEC and the rest of the slate of the games weren't great. So, I mean, the big two we've talked about.
I mean, we haven't talked about the big two, though, have we?
Yeah, we just did. Texas A&M, Clemson, and Texas and LSU.
I thought you meant the two big teams.
The rest of them are kind of cupcake games. That's the only two ranked teams that are playing each other, 2 games.
I'm sorry, I thought you meant the 2 big teams in the SEC.
Good. All right, and then Justin, I'll give my dog in the week in a minute. Justin, you got any blue chip games? Any under the radar games you're looking at?
So a couple of them I am looking at. One of them is I didn't think Auburn. I wasn't that impressed with how they looked against.
That was another one. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You got Tulane, who can put up some points.
Okay.
In there. So I'm just kind of eyeing over-under on that right now. And then Buffalo versus Penn State. That freshman for Buffalo looked pretty good. I'm not going to lie. And
I know you just came from Buffalo, Justin. Is there some favoritism?
Well, that's the reason why I was able to watch them.
Hey, it's Penn State minus 30. Do you like 30 at all? That's a lot.
Well, they have a true freshman quarterback. The kid definitely did his thing last weekend. They put up a lot of points, and they're going at Penn. And I was just thinking, how many times early on at Penn State, do I see Appalachian State or a Buffalo team keeping it real close?
Yeah.
So plus 30, that certainly has my attention.
Hey, they did put 79 up against Idaho, 79-7, Penn State. Dude, I think you and me scored on that one. I think I had a handoff. And
hey, the over/under on that game's 56 too.
Yeah.
So Buffalo can put up some points. We know Penn State can put up some points. 56 seems a little light for this game.
Hey, Buffalo Buffalo beat Robert Morris 38-10.
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, private school. Anyway, go ahead. Maybe the over, Justin. Now you're talking about it. The over.
Yeah, but the Golden Goose.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the Golden Goose Blue Chip Special this week is Maryland actually.
All right.
So there's kind of a rare occurrence with this game where Syracuse is the ranked team at 21, and they're playing an unranked team, Maryland, and Maryland is actually favored to win the game.
Yeah, I do say that. -2. Is that a trap game, though? You know, you always look at this.
Well, out of 23 times that a ranked team has been not favored to win, 19 out of 23 times the unranked team covers the spread. So Vegas knows kind of what they're doing here.
Yeah, I agree.
But Maryland at -2, and you can even get it -1.5 right now. Maryland looked awesome. I mean, whenever you looked at their skilled positions, now I know they played Howard, but they still did what they needed to do against them. I'm not sold on
Hey, the
Syracuse.
question is who had better touchdown celebrations, Maryland or Howard?
Howard.
I think it was
Howard
79-0.
Was it? Jeez.
But that's the Golden Goose Blue Chip Special.
So you are picking Maryland, or are you picking Syracuse?
I'm picking Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about yours though.
Okay. Here's my dog of the week. Partially because we just played them, but I think it's juicy on the road. You got Vanderbilt with some pretty good athletes. I know we blasted them 30-6. Should have scored. We got a real good running back with Vaughn. Got to figure out the quarterback. Got a good tight end. But they're going on the road at Purdue, and it's Purdue -7. So Trey's dog of the week got Vanderbilt +7. What do you think? Hey, you got. Hey, even you were texting Sean, Derek Mason. Pretty good defensive coordinator, and they do have some athletes. And Purdue didn't really do much the first week.
Did they win?
I think they did, yes.
Did their starting quarterback get hurt?
Let me see who they played. I looked it up earlier.
Did half of their team die in a plane crash? Because I'm wondering who should really care about Vanderbilt versus Purdue.
And I will say this: I'm not taking the dig. They don't have that stuff influence with the cancer kid last year, because I think they had a lot of motivation on that.
He was a lucky charm.
Yeah, he was a good dude, man. Hold on,
you don't know that if he was a good dude or not. He could have been an asshole. He's just
damn. He just got. Jeez, man.
I mean, it's true.
I say he's a good dude.
You think only good people? Trey, you think only good people get terminal illnesses?
Actually, here it is. Okay, Nevada beat them 34-31. How good is Nevada? So they're both 0-1 teams. That's the reason I was picking. Anyway, so that's my dog of the week. And if I had to pick an honorable mention, what was that other one I was looking at? I think I was going to look at the Arkansas game, taking that +6.5, just because Ole Miss is terrible.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's a better one to go with.
Anyway, I'm gonna go with that one. I'm going with Vandy just because I watched them last week. I'll probably lose that one. Anyway, but I didn't cover last week because I did take Oregon +4. Of course, that was a choke job at the end. Should have won that one, but oh well. So I'm 0-1 this year. Oh yeah, you might know about this, Justin, just because my other buddy Brian, he says the betting make you quit betting pick of the week. How bad it shows you how betting. I guess that Northwestern game with that fumble. Did you hear about that? Everybody was up and they did that strip fumble at the end with time regulation in the end zone. I think a lot of people lost money. That Northwestern
I didn't see it, but been there, done that.
Yeah, they were up, covered, and I think Northwestern, one of those sack fumble in the end zone to end the game, and he was just like, "Are you kidding me?" And they didn't cover. I mean, they basically had it, and they fumbled in the end zone. Why didn't you kneel on, or I don't know? It was one of those. It's bad.
Hey, speaking of nail biters, Sean, before you get to yours, so I parlayed Georgia and with a few other bets. Does Vegas know Georgia football more than any other team. I feel like every time I bet on Georgia, I either win by a point or I lose by a point.
No.
And I feel like they go like 8-8 against the spread every single year.
I just get a text from Justin. I'm gonna kill Georgia. Because remember when Curious Johnson? Hey, all right, Justin. So remember that dude fumbled? I'm sure you were kicking something. That dude broke his hand after that play. On that play, he was out.
Justin doesn't care.
So anyway, that's probably why he fumbled. Dude, he's out for like 4 weeks. So anyway, Justin was pissing because I think they would have definitely covered on that touchdown, right?
Yeah, well, I feel like Georgia's a really easy team to predict, right? Because they're going to play good defense and they're going to run the ball. So it's just about you don't really need to project if the quarterback's going to have an off day or not. You don't need to project if, how crappy the defense is going to be. The defense is going to be pretty good. So it's just about how many points the other team's going to score, right?
Yeah, wait. I will say this, Justin. You might want to look at it. Like, I have no idea what Murray State has, but that spread's 49. I just know Kirby Smart's usually pretty good about pulling the dogs out.
No, he's not good at pulling them out at all, Trey. Quite the opposite. Like,
you think he's going to put smackdown?
Trey, if you remember back from last year, remember when we had this freshman named Justin Fields, and we were like scoring 41 points a game and kicking the shit out of a lot of teams, and he wouldn't put them in until like 3 minutes left in the game, and it was just to hand the ball off. And Uncle Lou was like, what the fuck? Like, how about we let this kid, like, sling it some?
Well, you got the backup. He's not going to play that much.
Who's not going to play that much?
I mean, in big games, he's not going to. You think he's going to let him sling it around? Stetson Bennett?
Trey, how many big games did we play in last year? And let me put it this way. How many close games did we play in last year? I can think of Florida.
Actually, we beat them by 14.
But we pulled away at the end. I can think of Florida, and that's about it. Maybe Missouri. You can add them in there, and then Alabama. So that's 3 games, dude.
LSU smoked us.
All right. So that's 3 games, 4 games, right?
All right. So maybe now I'm thinking about stay away, but I just know sometimes he calls the dogs off.
I mean, no, because I think you define calling the dogs off as teams slinging it. Like launching the ball. Like Kirby Smart doesn't do that though. I mean, like this is like the Nebraska Cornhusker, a black shirt team from the 90s with like a pocket passer that throws it like 15 times a game.
All right.
I mean, our offense would have been revolutionary in '84, basically.
Mm.
So I mean, but it's Murray State.
Well, exactly. And plus, from a betting perspective, if Vegas says 49, I have to believe it's going to land at 48 or 50, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So
we got a pretty good field goal.
I'm just not betting Georgia football, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get him again. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and say this. If it stays, I'm going to have a bold statement here just by watching Notre Dame Monday. If it's 9.5 or 10, that place is going to be rocking. 2 scores or more. Georgia blast Notre Dame right here. So jump on that one if you see it early.
Yeah, I agree.
On that one.
Yeah.
Too much talent. It's going to be a night game. That place is rocking, and Kirby's going to get them up. I was impressed. Notre Dame, as Justin calls them on Monday, 35-17. I mean, they didn't even cover. You didn't cover against Louisville. Louisville was 2-10 last year. They got a new coach too.
Yeah, and they looked awful the first half.
You can run on them, and what does Georgia do? We can run, baby. We can't pass.
Hey, I'll tell you who I was honestly impressed with was Louisville for like having a new coach and everything. Yeah.
Hey, old App State coach, Sean, your old alumni.
Mm-hmm. And they had a running back that was 155 pounds and was just running his ass off.
All right, well, we'll end on this, and then we gotta let Justin go. What was a team that surprised you? Like might be a little dark horse or make some noise. Anybody like stand out? Like, a pretty good team.
I mean, honestly, like to Sean's point, I thought Louisville played tremendous.
Okay.
From the quarterback to the offensive line, the defense, I thought they did really good. Until about the midway through the third quarter.
Yeah, and I mean that's just kind of when I think that's the talent and the depth kind of like made the difference. But
Is that what you would say, Sean?
yeah, for sure. I mean, they really kind of surprised me. If you're talking about teams that just surprise in general, you can say Auburn and or Oregon, like, because it's hard for me to imagine a team that, with the exception, I didn't think anybody was going to outdo Miami in terms of like gift wrapping a win for the other team in their game against Florida until I saw that Oregon game. I mean, against Auburn rather. I mean, that was just. I mean, what are they up by, like 21 midway through the third quarter or whatever, and just
21-6 with like 3
yeah. Yeah, and you just completely gift wrap it. I mean, maybe this Bo Nix kid is just, he's a 5-star recruit coming out. His dad played for Auburn when they had those 2 undefeated seasons when they were on probation. Pat Nix, I guess, is his dad. Maybe he's, the real deal or whatever. But, I mean, God, that was just ridiculous.
Choke job?
Yeah, it's just amazing. Like, I don't remember. I don't know. It's not like I remember everything, but I just don't ever remember a time in football where it seemed like teams just gave games away like they do now.
This is a jab at us. Can you say Georgia 2017 and 18? Kind of gave those away.
I mean, all right.
Two,
but like,
2 years where you were leading, I think, the whole game with
2 years where you were playing
64 seconds and you lost 2 games. So, yeah.
Yeah,
well, no,
the Kirby Smart timeout, Georgia last year.
Well,
right.
Punt was bad.
But I think what's at least a little bit more justifiable in that case is that it's still Alabama, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
In the case
Hey,
of
Justin, Bama!
Oregon.
Bama!
In the case of Oregon, this is lowly, baby, tiny Auburn with a freshman quarterback.
The Gus bus. No flat tires this week. Pumped them up. All right, well, I'll go over real quick. The team that I was surprised with Oklahoma, Jalen Hurts. I know they played a garbage Houston defense, but to put those kind of numbers up, even if you were playing against Air or School of the Blind, combined for 6 touchdowns and, 300 yards, 20 of 23. So you got to put him in the Heisman race, and like Lincoln Riley, if you can pull off 3 straight Heisman Trophy wins or 3 different QBs, man, he's the horse. He's not the horse. He's the QB whisperer. He is great. Still no defense, but pretty damn impressive. What do you think?
I mean, I kind of expected that. Because Lincoln Riley already had, it was already well established that this guy knew what he was doing with quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, right? Baker Mayfield had less hype and less, of a resume coming in there, and just, Lincoln Riley turned it around with them. Hurts won a damn national title game, and I know that there were. He just had a lot of incontinuity with his coaching or whatever, but so I'm not all that surprised. I felt like that offense was kind of tailor made for him. I think what I was maybe more surprised at was the fact that Justin Fields didn't go there, and kind of instead went to Ohio State and left that option open for Jalen Hurts. But no, I wouldn't really say I was surprised that he kind of lit it up. Again, as you said, against the defense that bad.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Justin? On the way out.
No, yeah. I'm pretty much in agreement with that.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate Justin joining us again, and we're gonna talk a little Georgia recap here in a little bit.
All right. Thanks, Trey, for having me on.
Yeah, man.
Bud.
Bye.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right. See you. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the Herschel Talkers. We are in week 2. Big win for Georgia, 30-6 over Vanderbilt. Got Sean's with us again today. How we doing, Sean?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
Doing pretty well. Yeah, we'll jump right into it. Earlier we had our buddy Justin, betting expert that was on the phone, gave us some picks. So that was earlier in the podcast. But Georgia 30-6. Great first half, I thought. First 3 possessions, 21-0. Look really good. I actually like Coley's play call and switched up a little bit, jet sweeps and some of the Peeping and dunking, but stalled out in the second half. We can get into that. But, yeah, I guess first off, what's your thoughts on the game? Give us some positives and negatives.
Some positives and negatives. I mean, I think the ultimate positive is, right, is that we escaped, say, for Curious Jackson, for the most part, injury-free, right? I mean, and even Curious Jackson, though it hurts losing him for 4 games, it seems like he's going to be back before, the toughest part of our schedule kicks in. The other thing was I thought that as a whole, I think our defense looked vastly improved. I know a lot of people were hoping and expecting to have more sacks. I think that's going to come with time. I think the pass rush was, extremely well. I think the defensive line, it seemed like they were getting a lot of penetration. And maybe the biggest positive, I think, for Georgia long term was just the play of Zamir White. And I even said it last year. I kind of feel like, our season, or a large portion of our season is going to kind of be based on how well Zamir White does long term. No disrespect to Brian Herrion or DeAndre Swift or Cook, but Zamir White is he's a power back. He can kind of take over a load, and just the thing is when he hits linebackers or defensive linemen or even secondary guy, they're going to feel it. And he can kind of wear them out. I think he's and the thing is when you give him the ball, kind of like Nick Chubb, he can, or Gurley, he can just take it to the house. And he's just very much a nice compliment for DeAndre Swift. I think Zamir White, again, like I said, looks a little bit more like Nick Chubb. I think DeAndre Swift is Sony Michel with just that, I think that foot stop and cut, that one cut type of ability. So, I mean, to me, kind of like with 2017, just and with the style of our offense, it's just how far we go is really going to be based on, having, production at the running back position and just having Zamir White come back and, really contributes amazing. I think as we get into the season, I think you're going to end up seeing him contribute more and more and more. And to me, like, the craziest thing about him, right, is that this is a kid that's coming off of 2 blown ACLs in consecutive years, right? So, can you imagine?
He hadn't touched the ball since 2017 or ran a ball, yes.
And that's no slouch defense he was playing. I mean, those guys are well coached. And yeah. I get that he's got
Garrett
the best
Mason's
offensive.
Good.
Right, and I get he's got the best offensive line in college football, but, like, good God. I mean, can you imagine if he hadn't had either of those injuries, what he'd be doing? And I mean, again, this is a kid who's probably going to regain even more explosiveness over the next 2 or 3 years, similar to what we see with Nick Chubb in his rookie year in the NFL, finally getting it back completely. I guess if we're going to talk or discuss one negative, I think on defense, although I think long-term this problem is going to solve itself, I think it's the inside linebacker position. And I saw a lot of people on message boards and stuff kind of astutely lay out there. I think part of our problem at inside linebacker is Crowder, and that I think he's a bit too cautious. He's so afraid of getting out of position. He's not very instinctive. And he doesn't really attack the ball well. I think over time that's going to end up solving itself, though, because I think you're going to end up seeing a lot more. I think eventually Quay Walker takes over that position. You're also going to see Nagobi Dean work his way in there, although I think the longer he's out, probably the later and later into the season, he starts to work his way into that lineup. But, obviously I think that I just don't think Crowder long-term is what we're going to need at the inside linebacker position to make big stops against, big games. I mean, I'd be worried about him playing against a Travis Etienne or a Najee Harris or somebody like that. Yeah. But fortunately, it seemed like Quay Walker got a lot of time, and I mean, I think I texted you too. I think he was tied for 3rd on the team in tackles. Quietly,
Monty. I'm looking here, Monty Rice, and actually Mark Webb, which I guess I didn't really know. I mean, I knew he was out there, but man, he had 7 tackles and 4 solos. It's pretty good from the secondary. Aziz 6 and 2 solos and a half a sack. Quay Walker was 4th and then Richard LeCount. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's more or less him. You got to give it to the kid staying around his senior year. He was a 2-star running back coming in. I think it's more of those like Kirby. He likes his experience. He is fast, but maybe blowing up the middle and making tackles. So I kind of feel like he's seen him work. He's kind of like giving him he's giving him a chance, but I do think he'll probably end up being second behind, like what you said. I think Quay Walker is emerging as a potential starter. Just give him some time. And you always like that kid coming in. They're actually talking about that on the podcast this week, that he was apologizing, saying that was immature about the whole like Tennessee hat flip, which at the time we thought it was great, but he just says, yeah, I was immature then. I've learned better. I still respect, Jeremy Pruitt and Tennessee, so I thought that was like very mature of him. It's funny for us to watch it, but maybe it didn't look good for the program. And Kirby even said he talked to him about it, which is that's cool.
Well, it's just nice to see him kind of maturing, right? I mean, there really is more to the game than just or more to life than just this game, I guess. And just especially the fact that he's only 19 and he kind of realizes that now. So that's pretty cool to see. But I guess too, I mean, I guess one other, and I hate to sound like so negative.
Go ahead and let it out, man. Look, tell us what we were texting during the game. I'll bring it up.
I mean, well,
being a Georgia fan, we know what it is.
Well, yeah, it's the lack of vertical passing game. I mean, in the second half, it just kind of seemed like it disappeared. Like I think in the third quarter, we passed once.
Yep.
And the thing is these are, Uncle Lou made this argument. I mean, he beat us to the podcast. But these are really the same arguments that, all of us had, last year, was the fact that if you're up, and again, I get that it's Vanderbilt, you're on the road game, 30-6 isn't necessarily that big of a lead, but why are you not playing the backup quarterback and letting him get some meaningful reps? Because at some point, God forbid, if, Jake Fromm gets hurt, he's the next man up. Alabama, last year, I mean, I think that's kind of how that was really the difference in the SEC title game. When Tua got hurt, Hurts was able to step in and play. And the thing is Alabama had played him in all these games where they got way ahead. So the thing is he had game experience. He had chemistry with the starting offensive line and the starting receivers and with the play calling of Derek Loxley. And so my question is why are we not doing the same? It's just, and the other thing too is if you want to run the ball and just wind the clock down, fine. But then why are you leaving the starters in too? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. The vertical passing and what I was really worried about, and I was a little salty after the game, was it seems like they went in conservative mode, and he looked like Jim Chaney 2.0, to be honest. And I was thinking, all right, fast forward, I know we got to play our games, jumping out in the first half like we did, similar to the Bama game the last 2 years, and then you kind of just, kind of like what we've been texting and joking. You're stalling out the Ferrari. You got the offensive line. You got all these running backs. You got Jake Fromm. Wide receivers are trying to work their way in. Is the same thing going to happen the third straight year? Because you got to stomp on their throat, as they say. You got to stay in first gear when you're playing Bama. So that's my only thing is hopefully they'll work out the kinks the next 2 weeks. You should get a lot more with the wideouts. Kyrus Jackson injury didn't help, but I think you're going to have Dominique Blaylock, 5-star, 4-star, whatever he was, coming up in the slot. Also, James Cook in the slot might be interesting this week. So I just want to see some of these receivers, even with Stetson Bennett, hopefully getting there in the second half, just get more experience. Yeah, I hope we come out and just kind of sling it around a little bit in that third and fourth quarters. Just get these wideouts more experience,
Well, right. And, I guess maybe more general than that, I think part of the concern was, people talk about the fact that, the last 2 times we played Alabama, we've led for all but 2 minutes in the games?
Yeah, 64 seconds, something like that.
Right. So, but really, that doesn't necessarily tell as much of the story as what happened in post halftime, the second half of the football games, and that was adjustments. It seems like, we've been very good at jumping out at leads, and then, we play a lot of contain, and I think the one thing we didn't really see from our offense necessarily, and maybe this is wrong because, again, you had the Kyrus Jackson injury. Maybe if we don't fumble that ball, he scores a touchdown. I think Zeus Weiss certainly could have scored, had we kind of gone in that direction, I guess. But, it seems like in the second half, Derek Mason and that Vanderbilt defense made adjustments, and our offense really, at no time, really adjusted to what they're doing. And the thing is, it's going to be the same stuff when we play, a really good defense again that has a good offense, which is most likely going to either be against Alabama or it's going to be in the playoffs or both. And so, can our offense kind of make adjustments or not? I'll be honest, I can give a hoot in hell, and maybe this is just me being desperate. If it's a vertical passing game or if it's, continuing, with the running game, whatever it is, whatever they're doing to kind of stop our offense in the second half, we've got to figure out and adjust to. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, part of our concern with Coley or certainly mine, was that, this is a guy who's at the University of Miami, and people can say what they want to about Miami, but I feel like it's one of those jobs that's similar to Florida or Florida State, is the ultimate litmus test as to, a coach's true ability to coach. And what I mean by that is, after 3 years there, if you're not playing, if you're not winning at least 10 games, competing for conference titles, then you're at best an average coach or not a good. The thing is, so much talent down there, so many playmakers, that if you can coach, it's not going to be difficult to get players in your scheme. It's not going to be a talent issue unless you're an idiot. And the thing is Coley's already established himself as a great recruiter. But in his 3 years as OC at Miami, the offense got progressively worse. And so, I get, obviously, you need the horses to run the race, but at the same time, X's and O's do kind of matter. And so, you at least need to be smart enough to, see what a defense is doing and adjust, right? And, and I'm not trying to, necessarily discredit Alabama. And I think maybe in the past we've been a little bit too hard, perhaps, on our coaching staff, in terms of, our lack of success against Alabama. Let's not make any mistakes. These Alabama teams were talented, and they had some serious players on them. So, sometimes just another guy is going to make a better play than you do. You may have the perfect coverage. You may have, the perfect call. You may execute it, but the other guy does too, and he's just better. But that said, that's certainly not the case when you got a team like Vanderbilt, right? You've got better athletes. And so it's really just about, all right, well, what can we do to adjust things? You know what I mean? The first half, we were great at getting guys in space, and then in the second half, that just completely disappeared.
Yeah, another thing is these struggles with, we were stopped on, I think it was DeAndre Swift, -3-yard loss on a fourth down. I think there was another third down we got stopped. Is if this is supposed to be the best offensive line in the nation, you got to get these first downs. I know Vanderbilt might have had a push, might have clogged up the middle, or you got to have a different. I know they've been running Harry and he runs hard, so you just can't have that in these big games. Like you got stuff last year, 7 times against Florida, in the cocktail party. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing. And I think that's what Georgia fans had memories of or nightmares is. Same stuff, and you keep hearing this is the best offensive line. Look how big they are. First off, I'll say in uniform pads, they were monsters. Everybody, that's what my mom, she's been watching Georgia for 40, 50 years. She's just like, can't believe how big they are. They look great on there. They're probably pushing them around, and I think Georgia fans, like we wanted to see like a 49-7 just stomp on their throat, and they didn't get up. And we kind of rolled around in the second half, like what you said. 3 field goals in the second half wasn't great. It was never in doubt, but we're thinking national title year. We wanted to see that performance, and that's why I was like, hey, let's pump the brakes. I gave you a text after the game. Just pump the brakes on that natty talk. But now, sitting back, getting off the ledge, we still got a lot of football. We got 2 more weeks with hopefully some cupcake games, so hopefully we'll get it all together. But
well,
that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, the facts still kind of, and maybe some of it too is right. No matter what anybody wants to say, it's still Vanderbilt, right? You can maybe get your team fully up and playing their best twice a year, right? I feel like for Georgia last year, that was ironically against South Carolina and then against Alabama, although we lost that game. Mm-hmm. Or maybe against Auburn. But, obviously that wasn't necessarily our best showing. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the thing is, it's just that offensive line. Like, I mean, the thing is you've got so many bodies on that team, right? Like, why are you not rotating guys in and out? Like, because at some point I get they're going to fatigue. It's hot, you know. I feel like maybe you need to rotate in some of these other guys. I mean, you got Jeremy Sawyer in there. As far as I know, he was able to play.
No,
You got Cade Mays.
I don't think he traveled there. He's still got that foot problem. Sean.
Oh, does he? Well, then you still got Cade Mays, right?
Oh, yeah, Cade Mays, Swiss Army knife. Remember Isaiah Thomas?
Any of these other guys, like, why not put them in there a little bit, right? Yeah. I mean, if they're that fatigued, like, at least take them out for a series. I mean, if you know that this is going to be, you know, what you're going to live and die by, I mean, the offensive line can't do it alone, right? I mean, you want to know who, you know, on paper has the second best offensive line in college football?
Who's that?
Oregon, and they lost.
Yeah.
So it's just, it can't all be them. You know, you got to have play calling, and, you know, hell, honestly, like, if we're getting stuff there on, you know, 3rd and short, 4th and short, you want to know what it means? Teams are expecting you to run the ball. So why don't you maybe play action it?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I just hope and then I hope it's not. I know you've been real skeptical about Cole Lee, and I just, you know, we got high expectations. I hope he's not the, you know, difference in, you know, not winning SEC championship or a playoff game. But
I think the one advantage we have is that Alabama's got a drunkard as offensive coordinator, or a recovering drunkard. You know, no disrespect is meant to the recovering alcoholics out there, but right. You know, he's not exactly wow material either. It seemed like, you know, I mean, he kind of got he struggled with some adjustments too, I think, against when he was offensive coordinator the last go around. Although, granted, it was kind of last minute when he was asked to step up and handle play caller duties in Clemson's first national championship run. But, you know, what was that, 2015, 2016, something like that?
Right. Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, that said, I mean, you still got to worry about Clemson. You know, you're probably going to have to worry about Oklahoma.
Yeah, I just think with you get past Alabama because they're going to be there again, unless LSU. I picked the dark horse, and I'm gonna go ahead and you should have just kicked me in the mouth saying Missouri was the dark horse in the East because that already blew up. But I'd say Texas A&M and LSU might have something, or hang with them and show some vulnerabilities. Like, as you know, we were texting, they struggled in the first half against Duke. And it ended up, the score didn't say it, but, you know, it's 14-6 at halftime. And I think you were texting me like, Trey, that offensive line, they got problems. And as our young guys, because I think we're a young, deep group on defense, we can find, you know, I think we're going to be good. We need to give up those havoc plays. I think we only had one sack. So I just think they're going to continue to improve and just everybody stays healthy. And I think it's all about peaking, as you know, is getting hot down the stretch. Because, you know, if you just blast everybody, and then also, I know you want us to go 12-0. I always think a loss during the season humbles the team and makes them hungrier. So even if we maybe drop one of those games, and I know we don't want to talk about somebody losing, but in November, I just think it gets you refocused and humble. Have chink in the armor, and kind of, I think Kirby likes that too. You know, as he says, humility is 1 week away. So just as long as we get the right time. So, I know Georgia.
I mean, but let's be honest. Yeah. Like, and I think we'll know a lot more about this once we see how Texas A&M does against Clemson. There is no fucking excuse we have to lose a damn game this year. There's just not. Like, I mean, maybe if there was actually some competitive teams on our schedule, but there's not any. Like, you show me one where we shouldn't at least be 14-point favorites against every team on that schedule, including Texas A&M.
Yeah, I agree. I know that Florida game, which it should be, will probably be less than 14.
Okay, we'll see about that. I mean,
I know. I'm just saying about how the spread is. I can just, if it jumps up, because it's like 3.5 or 4. So I was telling Justin, put the house on it now if you can find something. I just think we blast them fools.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and looking real quick, got Murray State. I guess FBS school 49-point spread. It's gonna be 4 o'clock. I think it's SEC Network, kind of in the middle of the big games. Just hope we don't have any injuries. What are you looking forward to? What would you like to see?
I mean, I don't know. Like, no injuries, honestly, at this point. I think maybe Quay Walker continuing to improve and progress at the inside linebacker position. Because, like I said, I don't think Crowder's the answer at inside linebacker. And I think just Zeus White. I think if he's kind of able to just continue to just dominate and, continue to get carries, great.
Yeah, he had 5 carries for 51 yards. And like we mentioned, one funny story was I guess they were interviewing Jake Fromm and they were asking about Zeus White, and he thought they were booing him. As you know, it was a big Georgia crowd when they come in, but they were saying Zeus. So I thought that was kind of a cool story when he came in, because you can't help but pull for that kid. And I didn't realize, I know he had cleft lip and palate, and I didn't realize I should have probably read that before. He was a preemie, like 1.5 pounds. And his mom having him at 14, and they were gonna talk about not having the pregnancy. So the kid's been fighting since he came out the womb, which is you can't help but pull for him. So I just hope
for real.
He runs the chip on his shoulder, which is great as a running back. I think he runs hard, and so I think he's gonna be like that dark horse. He might not be in your second best receiver. And another thing we didn't talk about earlier, Swift might have been the quietest 147 yards I've ever seen. Did it seem like he had that much? It's still great, but he kind of he was getting out. He'd get 10, 15 yards and cut and kind of go out of bounds. But it seems like 9.2 yards was great, but it's just a quiet 147 yards, probably because he didn't get a touchdown. And then I thought D-Rob was as advertised. I know he got that early touchdown. I think he had another big catch down that was called back for a penalty, so I'm really impressed with him. If he can just stay healthy, he looks like he's got good hands, good in space, D-Rob.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that, he showed the same thing last year in limited time. Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely he's going to step up. He's going to be he's that type of guy that can take a short catch and stretch the field with it. You know what I mean? Very dangerous.
Yeah, and I was impressed with special teams too. 3 for 3. Rodrigo did his thing. I think he had a 50-yarder as advertised, and not Kamari. Jake, what's his name? Starts with a C.
Camarada or whatever it is.
Yeah, he had 54 yards. I think he kicked a 65-yarder. So that was impressive. So so I hope they take care of business. No injuries. Hopefully a good blowout. Get a lot of Stetson Bennett time in there. Hopefully we might get to see Dodge Ram.
We might.
Kenny McIntosh, they've been saying good about him, and see hopefully Blaylock. Maybe Pickens will get. You think maybe in the second half see Pickens? You can definitely tell they're trying to get him the ball, so they must like him a lot inside the red zone. He didn't get any catches, but they're targeting him. So.
Yeah, I mean, well, it seemed like he was open to it both times. I think one time it was overthrown. I think the other time it was underthrown. So.
All right, man. Well, anything you want to get off your chest? Not much to talk about for State, to be honest.
Agreed.
All right, man. And any recruiting tips? Anything you've heard? Anything? Who's your pick? Maybe the next one to pop, as they say, or commit. From what you've been reading. How about Evans? You were saying something like the 5th a week or two back. Is that kind of delayed? Still thinking?
I mean, the rumor is it's the 5th.
Well, that's tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
All right, man. Well, appreciate everyone for joining another episode of Herschel Talkers, and we'll see you next week for week 3. And we're out.
Finally. There's an hour and a half of my life I'll never get back.